we discussed what object-oriented programming is and what are the other paradigms, for example, procedural, functional, and object-oriented paradigms. We saw a couple of examples of each paradigm. For example, C is an example of procedural paradigm. Haskell is an example of functional paradigm. And Java, C++, and Python are examples of object-oriented paradigm. In this video, we will get started with why object-oriented programming matters in LLD interviews. Generally, interviewers are not interested whether you know inheritance or polymorphism. In an LLD interview, interviewers evaluate you on the criteria mentioned here. First thing is, are you able to identify core entities and the relationships between these? This comes under the UML diagrams, which we will cover soon in upcoming videos. Then, are you able to create modular classes by separating the concerns? The crux is that you should not put everything in a single class. If you put everything in a single class, it will blot and will be known as God class. We will come to the concept of God class later on, but this is not a good practice. Then, is your code extensible? By extensibility, we mean that software keeps evolving, new requirements will keep coming. Will your code be able to adjust to that requirement with minimal rewrite? If your software has to be rewritten again to accommodate new requirements, then that software is not extensible. And obviously, your code should be clean in terms of interface and contracts. We discussed that in one of our previous videos where I discussed the example of a newspaper. Just like you are reading a newspaper, you should be able to read the code and understand the motive. If you have poor object-oriented programming principles, then you will make classes such that they will be tightly coupled. And this will hurt the extensibility because when a new requirement comes, you try to modify a single class, you will have to do changes in multiple classes. And this will make the changes risky because you can introduce regression bugs. The second is obviously God classes, which we already discussed, putting every logic in a single class. Each class should be handling only one responsibility, and this is also known as single responsibility principle, which we will discuss in one of our upcoming videos where we discuss the solid principles. If you have poor object-oriented programming, then your code will be very hard to test, and this will obviously signal weak design. So essentially, strong object-oriented programming skills directly translate to designs that impress interviewers and scale in production. So not only from interview perspective, this is also important in production perspective as well once you start your job.